Well, good day. It's good to be with you again. I thought that for Easter we might do something with the children, but you can do it also for yourself. We can do this at home, is to make a paschal candle. Paschal comes from the Passover, Pesha, Passover, that the Jewish people would have celebrated when they came out of Egypt and the lamb was sacrificed. And so there's those connotations of Jesus, the lamb was sacrificed. So we talk about the paschal candle, and we light it at Easter. And so it has lots of symbolism about it. So you'll see when we look at this candle that we'll do a little bit of a close-up, that it has on it, it's got a cross, it's got some dates, 2020, and on the top of the cross is the Alpha, and at the bottom the Omega. So that's all symbolic. The Alpha and the Omega, meaning Jesus Christ, the beginning and the end. He's the Lord of all time. So we'll be looking at those sort of symbols as we make the paschal candle. So I've suggested to you to find a candle at home, or you might buy one, that's fine, and to get some simple things to make the candle. So I'm going to use some water-based crayons or face paints to help in filling the gaps where the impressions are going to be made for the cross and for the Alpha and the Omega and the time. We're going to need maybe something simple, like I'm going to use a screwdriver with a flat head, so I'm going to carve the particular parts of the cross. I'm going to need some pins later, because these are going to represent the wounds of Jesus, the wounds on his head, the wounds on his feet, the wounds on his hands, and the wounds on his side. So those wounds also are part of the symbolism of the paschal candle. I'm going to use a pair of scissors, simply it could be a knife or something later, because I'm going to do a bit of scraping, and also going to use a little fine nail, because this is a little small candle and I don't have too big an impression of the dates when I carve them. So these are all things will become obvious as we create the candle. So I'm going to take a clean candle, and I'm going to take my screwdriver, and what I'm basically going to do is I want to carve the cross. So we're going to pause, I'm going to carve the cross, we're going to pause and see what you've done with your cross. So I'm just going to take the candle and strike down to make the shape of a cross. A bit of a tricky manoeuvre trying to carve an impression into the candle in the shape of a cross. You could take an easy option if you wanted to, particularly when you're working with children, is to just draw. Just get a piece of paper, draw the cross, draw the Alpha and the Omega, and the dates, and just colour it in, and then just stick that over with some tape or something over the cross. Just makes it easy that way. This way we're going a bit harder. We're using the carving method, so we're trying to take the candle and put an impression into the candle in the shape of a cross. And then the next thing we want to do after that, because you'll see the cross shortly when I start to fill it in with some of the crayon, we're going to carve above the cross the letter A, and then below the cross at the bottom the letter Omega, the Alpha and the Omega. Try to do that. What I've done is I've written the letter A at the top of the cross and the letter Omega, at the bottom. This is a new experience actually for me. I can remember as a young ordinand at college, somebody taught me the art of carving. So I actually had a very large candle, and I carved all these elements into the cross. So doing it as a little one like this, a little bit tricky. So if you have a bit of problem, we're all in the same boat. Okay, so what we've done is carve the cross, and at the top we put the Alpha, and at the bottom the Omega. Now, as we said before, Jesus Christ, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the Lord of all time. So what we need to do to put on the cross as well is the time. It's year 2020. Okay, so very gently carving in then just each part of the cross, where you have the gaps, just up here. Well, actually, as I have carved on this cross here, you'll see where I put the 20. There we are, the 2020. Okay, so we want the 2020 just in there, and we're going to do that now. Okay, there we have it. I've carved the 2020 in there. Don't be worried if you don't do a perfect job. I'm not doing a perfect job. We're working with small candles, and we've never done them before, so don't be too fussed about it. The main thing is you carve your cross, you put your alpha and omega there, and you put your date 2020. Okay, now we're going to come and we've got the impression into the wax itself. Now we want to fill those spaces with some colours, and choose any colour you like. I just happened to have, because I didn't have a lot to work with at home, I was just using whatever things I could find at home, because I wasn't going to go out and break isolation, because I have to isolate at the moment. So I had simply put green there, any colour you like, black for the cross, and then 2020 for the date. Okay, use whatever colour you like, and I'm going to see what I've got here. So I've got some, as I said, some crayons. I'm going to use those. In fact, I'll probably end up using much the same to fill in the gaps. I'm going to go, maybe I will go a green cross with this one, and I'm going to fill in the gaps with the crayon. So you can see it's starting to take shape, okay? So you might have some crayon, you might even have some plasticine. That's good, plasticine. I was actually thinking the other night, mums used to make that Play-Doh for kids. I don't know, maybe Play-Doh will actually stay inside the wax as well. But whatever you think works, put it in there into those gaps in the cross and the other parts of the candle. Okay, so I put there the green for the cross. Okay, do a close-up of that. Yep, okay. And then I'm just going to use another colour, I don't know, I might use blue, okay, for the alpha and the omega. Okay, now just take a close-up of that. Now, because I'm working with this particular type of crayon, and it doesn't sort of sit nicely into the gaps, I get a bit of overflow, and so that's why I brought my scissors with me, and I'm just going to gently take off some of that excess. I can wipe it off with a tissue, but I actually find the tissue smudges it too much, so I'm just going to gently scrape it off from the surface. Just scraping off the excess. Okay, there I cleaned it up. You can see that the alpha is a bit more clear now, and the omega a little bit dirty. I'll probably tidy up a bit later, but you get the idea. So I've got the cross, I've got the alpha and omega. Now I want to put the date in the 2020, so I'm going to choose another colour. Might use again red this time. I like red for the dates. It's just one of those things I do. So I'm going to use my red crayon to put in the date 2020. Okay, so I finished filling in the spaces, the carved etchings in the candle, and I've filled them now with the green for the cross, the blue for the alpha and the omega, and the red for the 2020 of time. As I said, I used the scissors, to help sketch some of that excess off. You can use anything you like, just a blunt off or whatever, just whatever's safe with children. Now we've got the pins. And again, I could only take what I had at home. When I had a very big candle, I used the big nails, but I just had these little drawing pins. I'll just show you here, those little drawing pins that you use to tack things on to your notice board. Okay, there they are. So I'm going to use those as my, for the wounds that go into the Paschal candle. Now we're going to provide you with a prayer that will you can use when you're doing this, light the candle at Easter, and then putting the wounds in as part of the Easter Vigil for the head and the feet, for the hands and for the side. So obviously you're going to put a candle, it's going to be in the middle, like so. Yeah, a nice close-up of that. Then we're going to have another at the head and the feet. Now, of course, my candle was small and these pins are big, so, it's a bit much, but anyway. And then the wounds in the hands, each side. So basically there you have it. You've got your candle, you've got, there we are, you've got your alpha and omega, the Lord of all time for 2020, and the wounds. So there'll be appropriate prayer for that. So that's it. All the best. Have a good Easter. Bless you.